Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is enjoying their time at home. I understand it's little challenging for everyone because we are never used to work for so much long period of time uh, from home. However, the COVID has ensured that we have to stay at home for a longer period of time. We have to learn new ways of working from home, managing all home activities as well as looking at the office commitment. Plus, there are plethora of sessions like today we are doing are going on. Of course, we have kept these sessions with a specific focus in our mind, and we decided let's have sessions on a different topics, and fortunately, or as our organization has enough strength to cater to all different subject, we have been doing sessions on different subject. uh, I mean, in last week, right from Monday, we have been hearing on different topics, be it on force major, be it from whether I should pay salaries, wages, or not. So each and every activity we have been doing it. So today's session is also in connection with what we have been discussing. Today we would be discussing on what India's policy, or what is India's response from an economic side. Of course, we know from containing virus spread what India did. We started lockdown and all those things. However, from economic side, what are India's responses? Plus, we would be also covering a kind of wish list that what further is required to do in terms of different activities. Uh, Before we really start on the session, we all know that this COVID pandemic is a worldwide pandemic as of now, and more than 200 countries are affected with this pandemic. Now, as most of the world is affected, most of the world and their economies has taken some decisions on how to tackle the economy in such situation. So in today's session, first we would really go through what different countries has responded from an taxation, from an export, from boosting their economy point of view, what actions or what steps they have taken. Of course, don't worry, I'm not going to take all 200 countries' responses. Today, I have picked up some of the, I would say, key or big actions which different countries have taken in order to contain the impact of this virus on their economy. The actions taken by them can be on a different aspect, can be from point of view of tax exemptions or supporting a specific category of industries. So today we would first look at how different companies, different countries have responded to this COVID situation. And as I've said, we would be discussing some of the unique things into it. Like first, we know that the virus started from China, and how China really responded to it. So China, first thing what they did is they extended the deadlines for payment of taxes. Uh, they have specific given import exemptions for COVID related relief related materials. Like if you bring mask, if you bring ventilators or all sort of thing, they have given exemptions. If you bring medicines, they have given exemption. Another important point what China did is they also given exemption to income tax for healthcare professionals who are fighting the COVID. As we know, in Hubei province, where it was an epicenter of this virus, China brought doctors from all their countries to treat the patients in that province. And naturally, China given them lot of, I would say, allowances and all those things, which they declared that it would be tax free. So it in a way it was a good move, that who are the frontline warriors into this invisible enemy, China has given them income tax exemption. Then, of course, they have also given extension for social contributions, like we call it in our scenario, PF and all those things. So this was response from China. US, the most affected country with COVID. We have been all hearing what is important for US. It was really surprising for me also, because I always used to say or look into it that US really value every man's life. Even one death is very important for them. But this COVID response from US has given different picture about it. For them, the economy is first, and then other things really follow. That's how uh, we are looking at it. Uh, and what they did, they are, we all know, they are the biggest economy in the world from GDP point of view. And just to tell you, they have kept aside 11% of their GDP for the COVID relief work, which turn out to be an estimated amount of 2.3 trillion US dollar. That's huge money, huge money. If we consider it from an INR point of view, it is close to 1,75,000 Arab rupees. So which is a huge money. I mean, that kind of money they have kept it aside for fighting COVID. And this money, of course, would be used for different activities. Like they are saying they'll give one-time rebate to individual. So they'll give tax rebate to all individual. That's what they are saying, which would cost them 250 billion rupees. They'll expand their unemployment benefits, which again going to cost them 250 billion rupees. Plus they would be putting money in healthcare and all those sort of activities. Then another hard hit is Spain. So how Spain has responded, they said we would extend unemployment benefit funds to all affected person. They have given exemptions from payment of all social contribution up to 50% for specific category of industry who has been more affected by the COVID. And of course, they have also extended the deadlines for tax payment. Another country, Italy. Italy, again, they have deferred their tax payments. They have postponed payment of utility bills in most affected municipalities within Italy. Further, they have created a separate fund to help the unemployed person, particularly would be laid off due to this COVID situation for next some period of time. So again, you can see different companies, different countries are responding in a different ways considering their situation. And of course, what they fit is right. Now, what Norway did? Norway did, again, I mean, first they did is deferral of tax payment. Another important aspect they did is they lowered their indirect taxes, which is their VAT, from 12 to 8% on all commodities. And another most innovative thing which I really found very interesting when I was going through this different countries' responses is they say that they will allow retrospective deduction of losses incurred by companies due to COVID. What does it mean? Like suppose today in 2020, the company has losses. Those losses they can adjust with the profit of previous year. Correct. So normally, even in India, in income tax, you have provision of carry forward losses where the tax authority says that you can adjust these losses for your future incomes. However, Norway, what they have said, they said that you can even adjust your losses for your prior period profits, because you have been earning profits over the period of time and due to COVID, you are not able to do, you get back what taxes you have paid in previous year. That's very, I would say, interesting move. And of course, India can learn out of these moves. Then what Bahrain did, again, Bahrain did, I mean, they are wealthy nations, what we call it, because of the oil reserves. Of course, oil we know today is even trading at very, I would say, low prices, but they have been earning from oil since so, I would say, so many years. They have got good amount of money with them. So what they did is, they said that they would make payment of salaries for Bahrains who are working in private sector. So what Bahrain told, that they would be making payments of salaries, be it the private or be it the government employees. They'll make the full payment of salaries for them. It's very interesting. They have money. And today in India, what we are discussing, whether my employer would really pay to me or not, we should be looking at the Bahraini government, wherein they have decided to pay even for private employees. Of course, the condition is, they said they would be paying to Bahraini citizens only, and not any citizens of other country working in Bahrain. Then what they also did is, payment of electricity and water bills would be done by government. So no individual or company need to make any payment for electricity or water bills. That would be paid by their government. Then they have exempted commercial entities from municipal fees. Then they have given exemptions from rent for industrial and commercial entities. We all know, particularly Arab countries, we can't, the normal person in the world can't own properties. Most of the properties are owned by government. So what government did is, they have exempted from payment of rent for all commercial entities and industrial entities. What Hungary did, Hungary, I mean, what unique they did is, they have specifically supported the SMEs, small and medium enterprises working there, and in particular service sector, wherein they said that they would be exempted from payment of small business tax, which is akin to what we pay in income tax. So they have exempted those SMEs for paying small business tax in Hungary, which is again, as I've said, I have picked up something which is unique, which they have been supporting to different sectors of their economy. What Indonesia did, of course, they extended all tax deadlines. Plus they have announced all future taxation also for next 2 years. What they said, that in 2021, the income tax rate, corporate income tax rate, would be 25%, and in 22 it would be 22%, and in year 2022 it would be 20%. So they have said that in future you will have to pay less taxes, because of course this is going to impact in a long way to everybody. So they have given tax exemption for future profits. The another country, interesting, Bangladesh. We all know Bangladesh has been very, I would say, their growth in their export, particularly for apparel, is very fantastic since last, I would say, 10 odd years. The apparel export from Bangladesh has increased every year, and they are, I would say, it's a lesson to learn for every country how to really boost some exports. Now what Bangladesh did is, particularly to help their exporter community, that they have created a 50 billion stimulus package, 50 billion taka, not this, which is corresponds to US dollar 588 million approximately, for all exporting industries. What Bangladesh said, that you can use this fund, you can take loan from us and pay salaries of the worker who are working for next 3 months. So whether you have export orders, you don't have export orders, you can take loan from us and you make payment of salaries to all your employees for next 3 months. So this is how Bangladesh has responded to this situation. Then what Qatar did, again, Qatar being an oil rich countries, They have given 6-month exemption from payment of utilities for small and medium enterprises. Again, the focus was small and medium enterprises. They have exempted all rent payments for again small and medium industries into logistic areas. So this is how different countries have been responding. As I've said, as COVID has impacted close to 200 countries, every country has taken different actions, and good part of it is, as I've mentioned in my this all this information is available at International Monetary Fund's website, and I have gone through that website. They've done a very good study and analysis of all actions different countries have taken. I would say compilation, not analysis. Analysis we can go through and do those analysis, and it's an learning for everybody. Like even India Tech can learn from all different countries how they are really tackling different sectors. There's nothing wrong to learn from different countries. I understand Indian economic situation is a little different than all these countries. However, we can learn what policy decisions they are taking in terms of this. So now we move on to what India took in terms of policy decisions. So we would be discussing from different act point of view. We would be discussing what relief India has given from direct and indirect taxes point of view, relief given for exporters from foreign trade point of view, Reserve Bank of India's action point of view, relief from corporate laws, Companies Act, Provident Fund Act, the Employees Insurance Act, then relief by SEBI from listing regulation. So we would be covering today all these aspects. As I've said, I would be not only covering what relief has been given, but also covering what further steps Indian government should take to support different sectors. Of course, it's a wish list, what I feel and what different people feel who are on the ground and really get to know the pulse of economy. I tried to assimilate as an organization. BizSol has tried to assimilate what suggestions we have for further stimulus package which government should really consider due to this COVID response, as a part of COVID response. Now, first, from direct tax point of view, what action government has taken and what is our wish list or what are the suggestions which we have. The first, I would be covering in two parts. One is from tax payment point of view, and second is from filing and procedural relaxation point of view. Now, first from direct tax, they have made lot of measures from filing relaxations point of view. First thing, they have extended the due date for filing revised income tax return or belated return for the year 18-19. The due date of it was 31st March, which they extended to 30th June. Of course, even though filing of return is online, but government understands the situation which, and I would say unprecedented situation which got created due to this lockdown, and accordingly they have extended the date of filing these returns. Another most important aspect what government did is from all taxation law is they have extended the due dates pertaining to filing of notice, intimation, application, statement, refunds, documents, for which the due date is falling between 20th March to 29th June. So any due date of all these things, all my appeal, all my orders, all my refund, all my returns, if my due date is falling between March to 29th June, the date has been extended to 30th June. So any due date of all these, if I have any appeal pending, if I have anything which is expiring in these date, the taxpayer can file those things by 30th June 2020. Then next extension they have given, इसको तो extension इतने बार मिला है, कब ये actually आएगा पता नहीं. Linking of Aadhaar to PAN. I mean, I think since last 2 years, government intent is there to link Aadhaar and PAN, and it is getting extended. Of course, this extension has also got one new dimension of extension due to COVID. Now they said that this linking would be extended from 31st March to 30th June. So linking of Aadhaar and PAN would be extended. So of course there are others also in terms of procedural. What they did is from income tax, they also talked about what supporting employees normally are required to give for their tax deduction. Government had said that in order to simplify, rather than expecting supporting, you can take declarations from employee basis, which they can employer can deduct the taxation. So in terms of deferral of tax payment, of course, India has not suspended any tax payment. So it's not that India has given any exemption from tax payment. What India did at this stage is they have deferred all tax payment. Now, first tax payment, what they deferred is they said advance tax, self-assessment tax, our regular tax, TCS, equalization levy, security transaction tax, commodity transaction tax, all these you can defer. However, you need to pay an interest of 0.75% per month. The current interest rate is 1%, and if you can pay it till 30, if it is paid after 30th June, you need to pay an interest of 0.75%. Paid till 30th June, you need to pay interest of 0.75% instead of 1%. So what government did is they decided to reduce the interest rate for all these deferral payment from an income tax point of view. Then another tax payment is the TDS what we make every month. The interest rate for delayed payment of TDS is 1.5% per month. So they have said if you pay till 30th June, you need to pay a reduced interest rate of 0.75%. So you can look at it as an funding activity done by government. In this situation also, government has not said that you don't need to pay interest, but they said that you need to pay interest, but you need to pay interest at a reduced rate. Another thing what they did is, we all know another scheme was going on was Vivad Se Vishwas scheme, wherein if you settle all your tax payment up to 100% by 31st March, you were eligible for this. And if you make payment after 30th March, you need to pay 110%. So there was more payment was required to be made. So as this due date was up till 31st March, they decided to extend this due date to 30th June. So even if somebody is eligible for Vivad Se Vishwas scheme and they make full payment of tax up to 100% till 30th June, they can go. So they have reduced the taxed outgo of more 10% what was there. Plus, government has issued guidelines for faster refund processes so that the refund process should be faster. Particularly, they have said for smaller refunds, the refund process has to be expedited. So that's, I would say, more or less from a direct taxation point of view. Again, what should be wish list? What should be suggestions from our side? Of course, as I've said, everybody has suggestion. What we have suggestion, and the rationale behind suggestion is there has to be reduction in tax rate, particularly for individual, salaried, self-employed, and businesses, individual who are running the businesses. We all know the business is down in this period of time, and we don't know how it would really have an impact in another 6 months, how our economy would respond. Though we are confident about our domestic consumption, but what we all are expecting or what we are foreseeing is that there would be a lot of restrictions going forward. Even though the lockdown is open, government is going to have a lot of restrictions which is going to really impact the spending of individuals. And the moment it impacts spending, it impacts a lot of businesses. So businesses, uh, we are expecting there would be slowdown for next 6 or more than, I would say, 6 to 9 months down the line. There would be little slowdown for all different businesses, and how government can really help them is by reducing the tax rate during this period. Then they can also focus on SMEs because they would be very hard hit with this. You don't know how after lockdown whether their employees would come back. If they really come back, how whether they can really work with full energy. Secondly, whether our SME and MSME sector is really so much structured to follow the guidelines of opening. We have seen the last guidelines also. It is very difficult for even a large company to follow those guidelines, and God knows how SMEs would really follow those guidelines even post lockdown is open, if government put such kind of restrictions that it should be sanitized, there should be sanitization tunnels, there should be 50% attendance and all sort of thing. Then it would be really difficult for particularly MSMEs to cope with these things. And how government can really support them is by reducing the tax rate, particularly for MSME sectors. Plus, government should think on industry-based tax cut, because we know some of the industries would really suffer post-lockdown. Tourism industry, hotel industry, restaurant industries, they would be suffering a lot in next, I would say, 3 4 months, because of the mood of the people, because of the guidelines which government may issue post lockdown. So government should really focus those industries and give them tax incentives, tax benefit by way of exemption, so that they can sail through these difficult times. Then secondly, as I've said, what China did, government can also take a leaf out of it. They should give tax exemption for our frontline warriors. They are keeping their life at risk, like doctors, policemen, the nurses, paramedic staff, the support staff, the government employees into essential services. All those are putting their life at risk, so that we get all essential services in place. Like even bankers, I would put, government should consider what kind of tax benefit they can give these frontline warriors. I know what they are taking risk, what government can give in terms of tax may be very less, but at least it can help them in their moral boosting, that government is really looking into what we are doing. So that kind of exemption has to be there. Then next is what I feel is considering the there is a lot of I would say discussion going around that after this COVID, lot of companies may move out of China. Today we all know China is manufacturing hub for the world, but post this COVID and the kind of suspense China has kept, there is lot of, I would say, lack of trust. भरोसा कम है चाइना पे लोगों पे. सो लोगों को, एंड एट नाउ इट इज रूटिंग इन द एवरीबडीज माइंड. इवन छोटे से छोटा आदमी जो आज घर में बैठा है चाइना को नाम रख रहा है. सो इट इज गोइंग टू इम्पैक्ट चाइना इन लॉन्ग वे. ऑफ कोर्स there they may not face immediate impact because there are no immediate alternative. However, government of India should really think, because they are in any case promoting Make in India policy, they should continue the cluster based development like they thought when they have decided SEZ policy for export. And they should increase the income tax exemption sunset clause for SEZ units so as to boost the cluster development and attract further investment. Then government should also think about giving tax incentives who are making COVID relief materials, so that more and more people get interested and would work into it. Again, just I was reading some of the news channels and some of the newspapers. I got to know that in last uh, I would say 2 3 months, in China, the mask manufacturers have increased exponentially. and they are exporting everywhere in the world. So there is an still opportunity for some kind of relief material which we should focus and we should supply to all over world. Today we are short of all these activities. So what government did is they banned export of all masks, they banned export of ventilators, they banned export of disinfectants, of course to save first India. But we should have further tax incentives so that more and more companies really come, because this COVID problem is expected to remain for another 6 7 months, and people should really come and invest in those industries so that we can really supply within India as well as outside India. Then government should also think about weighted deductions for expenses incurred by companies in COVID relief work. Government should also encourage, like government is saying that encouraging everybody that don't deduct salaries. Correct. So government, what government is saying that it's your moral this, you don't deduct salaries even though employees are not reporting to work due to this COVID. There's a lot of discussion going on, but government should come up with a policy that we will allow you weighted deduction if you make salary payments or whatever fixed cost you are incurring during this COVID pandemic, so that you get a weighted deduction which would really help you to claim more expenses and reduce your tax liability. So these are, as I've said, some of the suggestions which we had from Bitsol side to government, different association to which we have given these suggestions, that this is how government can really look from an income tax point of view and help different companies to really cope up with the COVID pandemic. Then indirect tax, what action government has taken, and what is the wish list. We all know, good part of that is we all know from an indirect tax point of view, we have only one law, that is Goods and Services Tax Act, major law I would say. Earlier there were multiple laws, now we have only few laws left from an indirect tax point of view. One is Goods and Service Tax Act, second is Customs Act, and of course the Central Excise Act still remains for some kind of industries, but that's, I would say, very less industries are there right now in indirect tax. Sorry, very less companies are there from an excise point of view. Now, from GST point of view, of course, government has did a lot of, again, relaxation. Uh, First thing is they've extended the due date of filing GSTR 9 and 9C till 30th June from 31st March. This was really expected also. The filing for the 2018-19 they have extended to 30th June. Again, in from indirect tax point of view also, they have extended all due dates of all notices, refund applications, your appeal, your all applications has been, if the due date is falling between 20th March to 29th June, all has been extended to 30th June. Just to give an example, what kind of activities would be covered into it? If you have a refund due, the ड्यू डेट फॉर रिफंड इज 2 years. अगर आपका कोई रिफंड ये दो डेट्स के बीच में रहता था ड्यू, यानी 20th March till 29th June, then your due date is extended till 30th June. That's how you have to read this notification. If you have any appeal for which the last date is between these two dates, including 29th and 20th, then you are eligible for an extension to 30th June. Then next, from an filing relaxation, what they did is there would be no late fees charged for delayed filing of GSTR1 if filed before 30th June for the month of March, April, May. So for the month of GSTR1, for the month of March, April, May, the due date, I would not say the due date, they have said even if you file till 30th June, they will not levy any late fees. So even if today you can file those returns, but even if you file up till 30th June, then you are not required to pay any delayed payment of late fees. Then secondly, for exporters, we all know the exporters can export without payment of tax if they submit letter of undertaking to them. And this letter of undertaking has to be submitted for every year. So for 2021, the year started from 1st April, which was falling right between the lockdown period. So government understood this problem, and as they extended all the due dates till 30th June, while the earlier notification which we discussed 35, that is also applicable for letter of undertaking. Later on, government also issued a circular clarifying that all letter of undertaking, that is LUT, which all exporters executed for the last year would be extended, and they can use that number for exporting without payment of tax. They don't need to file a new LUT for export for the year 2021. This was problematic. Of course, someone may say कि ऐसे भी लॉकडाउन है तो एक्सपोर्टर्स को क्या प्रॉब्लम था, अभी तो कोई एक्सपोर्ट होना नहीं था. But just to tell you, the essential industries including pharma and everything were working. All pharma companies were having exports. So they were facing a lot of challenges, pharma and their all ancillaries industries, particularly for their export. So then for the essential industries which were working, this was a welcome move from a procedural relaxation point of view. Plus, government has also, from an indirect taxes point of view, they have also suggested the faster disposal of refund, particularly the smaller ones. They have given instruction to field formation for faster refund. Plus, government has, from a relaxation point of view, they have given temporary relaxation for reconciliation of input invoices. We all know last, I would say, in somewhere in October, November, government has brought restrictions on availment of input tax credit. They said that it would be restricted on the basis of what your suppliers have filed the returns and what they have filed in terms of invoices and what is appearing in GSTR 2A. So what government did is they have given a temporary relaxation for the month of February, March, April, May, June, July, and August. That for these months, you don't need to look at your GSTR 2A. You can straight away take credit on the basis of what invoices you have in your hand. However, in the month of September, you have to do a cumulative reconciliation. यानी आपको छोड़ दिया, बट आगे एक कंडीशन रखा है कि आपको सितंबर में ये सब रिकंसिलेशन करना पड़ेगा. सो आज भले ही आपको रिकंसिलेशन का रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है, बट सितंबर में यू हैव टू do all reconciliation and ensure the compliance with Rule 36(4). Then again, validity of all e-way bill government has extended till 30th June 2020. जैसे मैंने बोला, वाइड नोटिफिकेशन 35, they have extended all application documents validity. While that only e-way bill का validity, LUT का validity have been extended to 30th June. Now, this GST works very differently, as I've said. When everybody were talking about relaxation, right in this between, government has changed, particularly for refund rules during this lockdown. I don't know what was so much of necessity to do right in between the lockdown, but they have put additional burdens and additional work for a lot of people. So on one hand, just now we discussed that government had said that you don't need to do any GSTR 2A reconciliation till August because of this COVID pandemic, correct? On the other hand, they also said that the refund should be faster, it should be processed fast. But during this lockdown only, they have issued a circular and they said that all refund would be processed only pertaining to invoices which are appearing in GSTR 2A. यानी ये सिचुएशन कैसा है, एक हाथ दे एक हाथ ले. कहीं पे रिलैक्सेशन दे रहे हैं कि आपको जीएसटीआर 2A का रिकंसिलेशन करने का जरूरत नहीं है, आपको हम जल्दी रिफंड देंगे, और दूसरे जगह उन्होंने ये सर्कुलर निकाला है कि आपको हम रिफंड देंगे only on invoices which are appearing in GSTR 2A. This is an height of, I would say, uh, uh, ignorance, or whatever you call it. On one hand you say we are supporting exporter, on another hand, and not only that, field formation have started issuing default notices, or insufficient document or show cause notices for this, stating that you have claimed on invoices which are not appearing in GSTR 2A, please reply. So field formation even started applying this circular very, I would say, rigorously and effectively even during this COVID pandemic. I was handling one refund, and even for that refund we got notice during this lockdown that as you are we have got a show cause notice rejecting refund, or asking us why it should not be rejected, because we have claimed more than what GSTR 2A says. And interestingly, they are applying even for the earlier period refunds, what have been already filed before issuance of this circular. So ये कैसा है, ये क्लासिक केस है, एक हाथ ले एक हाथ दे, जो उन्होंने अभी नहीं करना चाहिए था. We are suggesting all these things should be removed in this situation. Then another interesting change they did is they put some restriction. They have changed the formula and they say that your export value would be restricted to the extent of 150% of your goods sold in similar goods sold in domestic. Yani if I am exporting one pen, and if I'm exporting that pen in suppose US for 2 rupees, and the same pen I'm selling in domestic market at 1 rupee, what government is saying that for refund calculation we will only consider 1 into 1.5, 1 rupee 50 paisa value. Even though you are realizing 2 rupees, we will assume refund your export value as 1 rupee 50 paisa only, and accordingly we'll allow you refund. Now this is these kind of changes during this lockdown are certainly not appreciated and not taken. Second, another change what they did is they issued a circular on refund. They said that now they need HSN and SAC for input goods and input services. I mean, again, it's complete nonsense and insane nonsense and insane activity what government is asking us to do. What government is saying that while you apply for refund for all your input services, you should have HSN and SAC code. No, nobody has tracked these HSN and SAC code up till now, because even in annual returns, government has dispensed these requirement of reporting. And somehow they have again started asking this. Now I have to go back to all my invoices and check what HSN, what SAC people have mentioned on the invoice, and compile it. We all know a lot of exporter has huge amount line items. Like some of our clients have close to 1 lakh invoices every quarter or every month, and it's impossible to take out those HSN and SAC codes particularly and then put those in annexure 1 on top of that during this lockdown period. So it would be an Herculean task. These kind of changes what they are bringing in are absolutely brought without applying mind, particularly in this situation, I would say. Then again, they have amended rules stating that if some exporter don't realize their export proceeds, then they will not get refund on account of those export. They'll have to pay back those refund. Particularly, this was made applicable for goods. Till now, for goods, this was not the condition that you should have realization. But now they have brought this condition that even for goods, it is compulsory that you should realize that money within the time limit allowed by Reserve Bank of India, and accordingly, then only you are entitled for the refund of it. Of course, they are not going to check this at the time of refund application. You have to give a declaration about if at all something doesn't realize, you have to pay back. So they have given these kind of conditions to it. So, which I would say an additional burden for which they have brought. Now, deferral of tax payment, like in income tax, they did deferral. Similarly, they did deferral of tax payment in indirect tax also. Now, what they did is they classified the taxpayers into three different categories. One, the taxpayers whose turnover is more than 5 crores, then taxpayer whose turnover is between 1.5 crore to 5 crore, and taxpayer whose turnover is less than 1.5 crores. So large entities, medium entities, and small entities. That's how they have bifurcated the deferral scheme for all different kind of this. इंडिया है, इंडिया में कोई सिंपल चीज तो या सिंपल डेफरल तो होगा नहीं, हर चीज को घुमा फिरा के वो कुछ तो भी एक नया आई वुड से मेज तैयार करेंगे. So now what deferral they have given for turnover more than 5 crores, you don't need to pay interest if the GST is paid within 15 days of the due date for the month. So whatever is due date applicable to them, if that taxpayer makes payment within 15 days, then there would be no interest charged to those taxpayers. So kind of 15 दिन का extension दिया है for all taxpayers having turnover more than 5 crores. Now, if those taxpayer further want to delay their payments, then a reduced interest rate of 9% per annum if the tax is paid till 20th 24th June. अगर 24th June तक आप टैक्स पे करते हो after your 15 days, then you need to pay an simple interest charged at 9% per annum. We all know the interest are charged in GST on the basis of number of days delay. Correct. So this is what for the large taxpayers. Then taxpayers, medium taxpayers having turnover between 1.5 CR to 5 CR, there are different due dates. For February 20, they say 29th June. For March, again they can pay till 29th June. For April, they can make payment till 30th June. For May, they can make payment till 12th or 14th June, depending upon in which state they are. And they are not required to pay any interest. So there's a complete exemption from interest, which is a very good move, that if those medium enterprises make payment within these due dates, then they are not required to pay any interest rate. Now again, for smaller entities, there is no interest if they file and make the tax payment before February, they make before 30th June, March before 3 July, April before 6 July, and May 20 is staggered between 12 and 14. इट वॉज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. अभी जीएसटी में देखा जाए तो इतने परम्यूटेशन कॉम्बिनेशन हो गए हैं, और ये परम्यूटेशन कॉम्बिनेशन किसी ने बहुत अच्छा एक टेबल बनाया, ये मैंने नहीं बनाया. somebody has prepared this table tracking all these what I have discussed just now. Though I have discussed in a very simplistic way, but if we put all those discussions on the paper, you would see these many permutation combinations and due dates and tax payment dates would come from GST point of view. अब ये इतने डेट्स और इतने चीज इतना कॉम्प्लेक्स क्यों किया जीएसटी में? Why can't they have one date, one extended for everybody? Why they have bifurcated taxpayer into 3 categories? ये सब चीज के लिए एक ही चीज जिम्मेदार है, वो है जीएसटीएन नेटवर्क. ये जीएसटीएन नेटवर्क के वजह से जीएसटी में वी आर रिक्वायर्ड टू ट्रैक ऑल दीज डिफरेंट डेट्स, डिफरेंट ड्यू डेट्स. कोई छोटा है टैक्स पेयर तो उसके लिए क्या डेट है, मीडियम है तो उसके लिए क्या डेट है, बड़ा है तो उसके लिए क्या डेट है. ये एक अपन बचपन में या अभी भी काफी लोग गेम खेलते होंगे, ऐसे भी लॉकडाउन में है, वी प्ले दैट ना कि हेल्प दैट माउस टू रीच हिज चीज. जो एक मेज का गेम होता है ना, वैसा ये ड्यू डेट्स का गेम है, पर्टिकुलरली फ्रॉम ए जीएसटी पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, कि this is how the due date is, and this is how the due dates have been put in, and the only reason is the GST network doesn't support filing on a single day. जीएसटी नेटवर्क डाउन हो जाता है. अब अभी मुझे क्या देखना है, अगर मेरी ड्यू डेट है तो पहले मैं कौन से स्टेट में हूं, फिर अच्छा चलो मैं XYZ स्टेट में हूं, फिर देन आई हैव टू चेक व्हाट इज माय टर्नओवर, वेदर मेरा टर्नओवर 1.5 करोड़ है, 5 करोड़ है, या 5 करोड़ के ऊपर है, देन फॉर विच मंथ, व्हाट इज द ड्यू डेट, एंड व्हाट इज दैट ड्यू डेट बाय विच आई हैव टू फाइल. सो इतने चीजों का एटलीस्ट मुझे 3-4 क्वेश्चंस का यस नो में आंसर लेने के बाद समझेगा कि मुझे इंटरेस्ट भरना है कि नहीं भरना है और मेरा ड्यू डेट क्या है. एंड दिस इज ओनली बिकॉज ऑफ the GST network which we have created, the Infosys have created, which was a complete. This is an example, again, a classic example that the faulty website what can do. Even in this pandemic situation, we are not able to simplify the things just because the compliance module is not good. This is a classic example of it. मैं आज तक इतना इन्फोसिस पे हार्श नहीं था, but in this situation I can say this is only because of the GSTN network, different due dates, particularly from an indirect tax point of view. Now from Customs Act, as I've said, another indirect tax is customs. जब भी अपन we import anything, import or export, the Customs Act is applicable. One good part government did is they said customs department would work for 24/7. There would not be stoppage of any work at customs. Again, from a Customs Act point of view, if you have any refunds, appeals, again, in all taxation they have extended the due date. So in this also they have extended all due dates till 30th June. Further, they have said that there would be no late fees if there's delay in filing bill of entries, which is a very good move. Then they have also given relaxation requirement from executing bond under different section, because today you can't execute bond because your signatories are sitting at home. You can't buy a bond paper. Even if you pay stamp duty online, to coordinate with signatories to ensure that it reaches to customs would be a difficult task in this lockdown period. So naturally what they did is they have extended the deadlines for it. Then from export again, government what they did is they said custom department would work 24/7. Export of specific medicines, we all been hearing hydroxychloroquine, correct? आज तक किसी को इसका नाम भी लेना डिफिकल्ट जाता होगा, but we all know now, we have learned this thanks to Trump and lot of news channel we have been hearing this hydroxychloroquine पे इंडिया ने बैन लगा दिया है. So of course it's not only one medicine India has banned for export. There are a lot of other medicines, masks, ventilators, which India feel is important from an Indian response point of view. They have prohibited export of this items. Of course, just to tell you a little background about some of the medicines, particularly the anti-malarial drug, which is a talk of the world, hydroxychloroquine. India manufactures 70% of things, 70% of global demand of hydroxychloroquine. So India is one of the biggest, I would say one of the largest manufacturer of this. And naturally, a lot of countries are requesting India to for these medicines, and India has done their own analysis, and only Ministry of External Affairs is allowing export of these medicines. Then of course they have instructed special refund and drawback drive so that people can get their refunds and drawback in this point of time. Now from an indirect tax point of view, what is wish list? Wish list, as I've said, can be more. We should lower the tax rate, particularly on the COVID relief material like sanitizers and all those things should be really masks, surgical masks, and 95 masks. all GST on those has to be reduced. Government should really review the 28% GST rate list with and specific object to lower these list, so as to boost the demand. We all know 28% में मेजोरिटी थिंग्स क्या है, मेजोरिटी थिंग्स है लग्जरी गुड्स, कार्स हो गए, एसी हो गए, सब हो गए. बट वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट if they need to boost the demand of these goods, they should reduce the tax rate on these goods so that the economy would get a boost of it. And it would help economy to move upward into it. Then GSTR 2 reconciliation has to be suspended or removed for this period. There has to be easy and faster refund. Like I've additional they have put in. Say export के लिए आप SSN लाओ, SSC लाओ, 150% GSTR 2A cancellation. All these things they should remove at this point of time. It absolutely doesn't make any sense to further push the taxpayers and trouble them. Then they should exempt customs duty on relief material for COVID. Extension of all licenses, including AEO, should be done. And most importantly, in another, I would say next 1 year, the approach of tax authority should be supportive rather than coercive, particularly for non-compliances. They should be supportive, they should understand, and basis which government should take actions. They should fund exporter, as I've said, like Bangladesh funded their exporters, particularly from salaries and all those point of time. The government should also give a cheaper interest rate at lower rate at 2-3% or even lower than that for exporters, so that they really get support in this point of time. And of course, there would be many more. Now we will move on to foreign trade policy. Now we all know foreign policy governs export and import regulations from a Ministry of point of view. They have also done lot of activities or lot of relaxation from a foreign trade point of view. The first and foremost, the foreign trade policy was expiring 31st March 2020, which they have extended for another 1 year. So the existing policy, which was there 2015, 2020, would be extended for 1 year. The next important thing they did is merchandise export incentive scheme has been extended till 31st December 2021. So we all know this scheme was given for exporters. So exporters were entitled for this MEIS scrip. So this MEIS is extended till 31st December 2021. So all exporters would get this scrip. Even though India lost case in WTO, this scheme would be extended till 31st December. And the alternate scheme, they have kept it on hold. The remission of duties of taxes on export product is kept on hold. They said that would be notified separately. This scheme was to replace MEIS. As MEIS is extended, they said that this another kept on hold. Then from, I would say, yeah, I would correct this one correction in my PPT. It is extended till 31st December 2020, not 21. There's a typo error here, which somebody has rightly pointed out. It is extended till 31st December 2020. So ये साल के end तक the MEIS is extended. Thank you for pointing out the error, Mr. Avinash. Then last date for filing MEIS, they have extended shipping bills whose late export date was in between 2019, 1st February 2019 to 31st May 2019. So the last date has been extended because the date was coming right in between February 2020 to 31st May 2020. That has been extended to another 3 months. They have said it would be 15 months from now. Then SEIS, it has been extended. They have said the filing date has been extended till 31st December 2020. The last date was 31st March. It was extended till 31st December 2020. Then status holder certificates which were expiring on 31st March 2020 would be valid for another 1 year. As the policy is extended, they have extended the due date of status holders for another 1 year. From advance authorization point of view, we all know advance authorization is taken for exporter so that they can import duty free goods. There also the IGST exemption has been extended till 31st March 2020. The validity of ad hoc norms which are expiring on 31st March has been also extended till 31st March 2021. Then we all know this advance authorization has a specific validity period of 12 months within which you have to import. Now, if your advance authorization is expiring between 1st February 2020 till 31st July 2020, then it would be automatically stand extended for another 6 months. And the exporter need not to apply for a separate permission or amendment for it. Then export obligation period, again, if it is falling, export obligation is expiring in between these two dates, then that also is extended for another 6 months. Good part is government, DGFT has understood, and they have said you don't need to make any permission or amendment for it. It would be stand to be extended automatically. Again, similar exemption or extension they have given for EPCG. They have said if your EPCG is expiring in between these two dates, February till July, it is extended for 6 months. The installation certificate also, you need to submit installation certificate. For that also, they have said it would be extended for another 6 months. Similar extension have been given of 6 months for export obligation period if it is expiring between these. So it is very interesting that the DGFT has given extension for export obligation period only if your export obligation is falling or the expiry is falling these period. It is not extended to all EPCGs. I'll repeat what I'm saying. All these extension, advance authorization, export obligation period or EPCG, if your expiry period is falling between February 20 till July, then only it is extended. It is not extended for all authorization holder. So what we feel is that they should give this benefit to all exporters. They should not limit it to only EPCG whose period is expiring in this period, in these dates, because all exporters are suffering. Everybody is suffering. So they should look at a long-term horizon and extend the export obligation period for entire EPCG authorization instead of just I would say few authorization, the expiry of which is falling between February to July. Now, wish list and suggestion from foreign trade point of view. Of course, apart from what I have discussed, they have also relaxed rules for certificate of origin. They have also talked that for issuing authorization, they should not insist RCMC renewals and all those things. So DGFT has done a lot of efforts to ensure that the importer and exporter don't suffer into this period of time. And also they have said that they have set up a separate helpline center to support exporter and importer. Now, what further from an export and import point of view government should do is government should really come up with a new scheme to attract new investment in India with a view that there would be possible shift of businesses from China. As I've said, a lot of countries are not comfortable now with China's working. We have read report, the Japan has taken the first step. They said whoever wants to move out of China, the Japanese companies want to move out of China, they have set up a separate fund to support them to move out of China. And we are expecting a lot of countries to follow the suit. And government, Indian should not be behind in attracting these companies into India. And they should come up with a new scheme giving slew of measures or facilities including land, clusters development, in line with what China did. And they should really come up with new schemes to support them and to really support the possible shift of businesses from this. They should make some attractive scheme for it. Then SEIS should also be extended. The government has not extended SEIS scheme. They should extend SEIS scheme for service exporters. Then what I discussed just now, that they should extend export obligation period for all authorization for one year. They should not look at from a 6 months point of time. They should fund exporters at lower interest rate. Uh, and secondly, another point, government should all think that all incentive what DGFT gives from foreign trade point of view is linked to realization. Once you realize, then only you get. You realize the export proceeds, then only you get those benefit. Now what government should really think about it during this time is, rather than insisting realization at the time of giving benefit, the DGFT should think of getting a negative statement that you only declare what you have not realized. Rather than declaring what all things you have realized, you declare what you have not realized. The same negative statement government takes in customs when they give all industry duty drawback. What they ask is only give the details of export realization which you have not got. So they give you drawback immediately without checking your realization. And they say that every 6 months you submit a negative statement, that the statement containing only exports which you have not realized, and pay back those benefits. So even DGFT should come back with such kind of relaxation, that they will give MEIS, they will give advance authorization, redemption and everything without looking into realization requirement. Only thing, the exporter has to give a declaration later on if they have not realized, rather than insisting realization at the time of giving benefits only. And of course, there can be many more suggestions which you can also send us, which we will channelize and give to the right forum wherein it can reach to government. Now moving on to next law, what corporate laws and listing regulations, what government has given different relaxations. Now government has, I mean corporate laws, we know Companies Act, there is a Ministry of Corporate Affairs look into it. They have said that there would be no additional fees if there are late filing during the period of April to 30th September. They'll not charge a single late filing charges during this, irrespective of what is the due date. So even if the due date whether fall into this dates or not, they have said that any filings you make during this period, they will not charge any late fees into it. Then they have also talked about that if the we all know there has to be compulsory board meeting at a prescribed interval. So that has been extended for 60 days because it is not possible to conduct board meeting in this situation in lockdown. So they have extended it by 60 days. So you can hold your board meetings with such extensions. Then there are conditions. A lot of companies need to appoint independent directors, and the board meeting has to have with independent directors. They have said for the year 1920, There is no need to have independent directors board meeting. uh, they can discuss it on phone or something and do their businesses. That idea, that compulsory requirement is done away for the year 1920. Then for new businesses who have been registered with companies under the Companies Act need to commence their business in 6 months after getting registration certificate. That 6 months have been further extended for another 6 months, so that the new businesses get sufficient time to start and file that declarations. So additional 6 months have been given for new businesses. Then the from an Insolvency and Bankruptcy Act, we all know the default limit was 1 lakh. If even if there's a default of 1 lakh, you can go to IBC for insolvency. Government is expecting that during this COVID pandemic there would be lot of default. So what they did is they said that default has been extended from 1 lakh rupees monetary limit to 1 crore, so that there should not be unnecessary insolvency proceedings for some non-payment, because they are expecting there would be a lot of non-payments which would happen into this lockdown situation and uh, post, I would say, this COVID impact, the economy would be low. So the MSME, the lot of MSME should not go into liquidation proceedings unnecessarily. So they have rightly raised this limit from 1 lakh to 1 crore. Another, the government has said the companies can spend their CSR fund for COVID relief work. Then government has extended the time limit for employee state insurance to 45 days instead of 15 days. So they have given extension particularly for February and March month from ESI contribution that you can make by 15th April or 15th May for the month of February and March respectively. Then due date for provident fund payment has been extended for the month of March, has been extended to 15th May. So right now Provident Fund extension is only given for the month of March. Then from listing regulations, certainly SEBI has given a lot of relaxation. Your quarterly filings or annual financial result, they've extended by 45 days and 1 month respectively. The annual secretarial compliance report has been extended for 1 month. Filing of quarterly corporate governance report has been extended by 1 month. Quarterly shareholding patterns have been extended for approximately 3 months, 3 weeks. So SEBI has also taken a lot of initiatives to extend the deadlines which are there from a listing regulation, so that people don't default from it. Now, what are the suggestions from different corporate laws point of view? One is they should give exemption from payment of PF and ESIC. So rather than just extending the date, as lot of countries has exempted payment of social contributions, Government of India should also really think about that. They should exempt employers exemptions, and that same amount government should pay to these funds into it. Then they should come up with exemption schemes, particularly for industries who are suffering the most. Like as I've said last time, they should give focus for industries who are suffering, uh, uh, like travel industries, tourism industries who are suffering. They should get the benefit of these exemptions. They should they should remove all filing fees for 1 year. So whatever filing fees Ministry of Corporate Affairs charge, they should think of removing all those filing fees for 1 year. They should increase timeline for submission of annual reports for listing entities, as auditors are unable to conduct the audits. Because of lockdowns, auditors are unable to conduct the audit. So government should extend the timeline further. Then also they should make requests that auditors should be part of essential sectors, so that it would allow them to work and do audits, and of course subject to following the guidelines. And of course they should extend the entire return filing compliance in the year 2020. So these are things from, I would say, corporate point of laws point of view. You can say we have tried to cover all different taxation, corporate law regulations. Of course, apart from this, government has did lot of taken lot of measures to support the industries. Just to tell you, as I've said, US has enmarked close to 11% of their GDP. China has enmarked close to 4 to 5% of GDP. And what Indian government has still up till now is they have whatever measures they have taken is coming to, I would say, just 1 or 1.5% of India's GDP. So India need to further increase their, I would say, relief work from COVID point of view. They should add lot of, they should put lot of money, I would say, into it. I'm confident this government would take that action, and they are taking step by step. And I am sure that they would also come up with further relief measure, because when we look at different major economies, how they are responding, they're expecting a lot of slowdown. With due respect to Indian domestic consumption, but considering the social distancing guidelines which would be there for another, I would say, uh, 6 odd months, there would be lot of, I would say, industries which would have impact, and government need to really work on those sectors into it. So with this, we would really move on to the next session, that is Q&A section. So I'm going into Q&A section. So Jamal sir has, thank you Jamal sir for your comment. What exactly our country is doing in this regard is still not clear. Contrary to this, we will have to pay various statutory payments on time, except some days of postponements. Statutory bodies have already started following up with same over phone. I understand, as I've said, I've just answered your question, Jamal sir, that of course, as on date, India has not exempted anybody from tax payment per se. Uh, we are expecting government to really come up with exemption and increase their spending from for this COVID. Right now, from taxation point of view, what everybody has got is deferral. Only in an indirect tax point of view, they said that they would not charge interest for some period of time. However, at other ended, they say that they would be charging interest to it. So of course, we are expecting. Personally, I also feel there should be further exemption given. By the time it would really come, I mean, we should give some more time to government to come up with these exemption. So as again another question he has rightly said, more right now government relaxation is from procedural point of view rather than monetary terms. Certainly we have covered all actions. Mostly it is from an procedural and filing relaxation or deferrals. Of course, it has some monetary impacts also, but we can expect that some more monetary impacts would be there. Now, of course, Padmaja has rightly pointed out one point that government has exempted payment of PF, but I mean they have limited it to only 100 employees with salaries less than 15,000. And again, they have said 90% of those should be below that. Hardly entities would really come into this bracket. What I mean to say that they should really increase this bracket to it. So again, Jamal sir has said that the wish list what has been presented is comprehensive. Even if 50% of it is accepted, it would be win-win situation for all of us. Of course, sir, we are also praying, and you can more pray because Ramzan has started. So you can more pray to Allah that really government look into it and find this solution for which would win-win for every industry to it. Now, is due date for job work return is extended? As of day, no. However, job work return is a statement. How I look at it is, so as section 35 is amended, stating all statement and returns have been extended. Under that, job work return would also fall, and it would be extended till 30th June 2020. So there's one question particularly for new registration. The new registration, they have not extended anything. They have told to field formation that the new registration has to be as normal. So you should get response from them. And other side, you can check it on website, the GST website, what is status. Lot of time they issue some queries or they may need some further documents which you should check. Mr. Venkataraman, to answer your question. Now, somebody has stated that Telangana has parting ex parte order for VAT assessment. It's very unfortunate, wherein they are passing these kind of orders. They should really support industry in this point of time rather than issuing ex parte orders. Mr. Hardik Patel has asked about clarification on 150% clause. As I've said, the government has amended Rule 89.4, wherein they have defined the turnover, definition of turnover for export goods is there. What they did is they have restricted the export goods turnover definition, stating that irrespective of at whatever value you export, your export value would be maximum of 150% of similar goods sold in domestic. So if you are exporting same goods, like if you are exporting a tractor which you are also selling in domestic, if that tractor you are selling in same tractor you are selling in domestic at 5 lakh rupees, and you are exporting that tractor at suppose 10 lakh rupees, what government says, your export value for this refund would be restricted, for refund calculation would be restricted for 7.5 lakh rupees. That is 1.5 times of your domestic value. 5 lakhs ka 1.5 this is 7.5 lakhs. That's what is the restriction. We need to pay import dues within 6 months from the date of shipment. Now, as per FEMA guidelines, you need to pay within 6 months from the date of import. Certainly, you can go back to the same guidelines, talk about that. You can go back to your AD bank and seek the extension. In this period, they would really happy to extend it. Now, what is your view on FTP extension, the new FTP framework? Just to tell you, Mr. Virat Parikh, next Monday, I mean coming Monday, we are having one session taken by our senior colleague, Mr. Manoj Behde, particularly on foreign trade policy, wherein he would be talking on the impact of this, that how it would be drafted, what would be the impact of foreign trade policy, considering we lost WTO case. So he would be covering on the coming Monday. I would request you to join that session to get your answer in detail about it. There's another same question on delay in payment or particularly bill of entry payments. As I've said, you can approach your banker because same guidelines uh, says that the ED bank can condone the delay for those payments. Now there's a query that we have exported under LUT. We have not realized export proceed. Is there is any relaxation on this? The RBI has also extended the earlier, the relaxation period was 9 months from the date of export. Now they have extended to 15 months considering this COVID situation. So even if you realize in 15 months, that should be okay. The question by Mr. Abhijit Pawar is, can you elaborate on extension on date claiming the benefits under MEIS? It's very simple, sir. The MEIS scheme itself is extended till 30th December 2020. So even if whatever export you make till 30th December 2020, you will continue to get MEIS at the current rate. Now, another question is came particularly from EOU point of view. In case of debonding of duty-free raw material, the permission of customs is required. Certainly, with the current situation, filing application and then payment of custom duty in bank, which is manual process. Uh, what is the way out? Instead, we import. We wish to debond and duty-free and utilize the same in DTA. Unfortunately, sir, there is no exemption. Only thing what you can do is the custom department is allowed to issue passes for you. You can issue pass for it. You can request custom department to issue pass. You have to go to bank, and as bank are working, and then only you do, because as on date there is no relaxation for this. I understand this is a genuine problem which you are facing. Uh, I mean, if you want to, I would say, insulated from all your penal action, you have to go to them and seek the permission. What is your view on SEZ sunset clause extension? Agrawal sir, sunset clause extension has been done. They say whoever has got an LOA till 31st March, even if they commence commercial production till 30th June, they will get an income tax exemption. So that they have brought in under Income Tax Act, which is a very good move. However, what we are saying is they should further extend it from this. So we are already, I would say, hit the timeline. It's already 5:30. This question, what is provision about RCMC? They told about that they will not insist RCMC during this period. Of course, you have to renew it once the normal process comes out. Now, there's one question: what action to be action government is taking on what applications we have been filed? Just to tell you, customs, DGFT, all are working. So they are responding. They are issuing all notices. They are issuing permissions and everything. So government department are working. It is not stopped. They are encouraging online things. They have asked their employees also to work from home and do this. A lot of people are also putting comments about how the presentation was and copy of presentation. Certainly you will get the copy of presentation of it. Anything about IGCRD exemption? IGCRD would work as if normal. There is no per se this, because IGCRD is normally applicable for 1 year. And as I've said, customs is working. So they are encouraging EOUs to submit the IGCRD application online so that they can process. And in any case, UUs don't need to wait for their permission. IGCRD guidelines clearly says, one circular says that they need to intimate customs. They don't need to wait for any permission from them. So I think we are good to close this session. As I've said, our next session would be on Monday, again at 4 p.m., wherein Manoj Behde sir would be covering on what would be the future foreign trade policy would look like, considering the